Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I'm James. I'm joined by Benji. How you doing, Benj?
Really good, thanks, James.
Brilliant. And how you doing, Zach?
Yeah, not too bad.
Fantastic. So today we're just going to do a quick rundown on all of the teams, going through in alphabetical order, just really quickly, relatively for us, on, just maybe one thing that we think they're doing well and one thing they need to improve on. So first of all, I'll let Benji kick this off. We've got Chennai Super Kings.
Chennai. I'm pretty pleased with Chennai at the minute. The only match we've not covered so far was the game against RCB the other day. I think Chennai are looking strong actually in all aspects. Mostly, I mean, the thing that they're doing well at the minute is Jadeja. He's sort of, just being a beast. He's winning. I think he won that game single-handedly pretty much against RCB with the back end of his innings and also his bowling. I'm struggling to think really of where Chennai can trip up. It seems that middle order, Raina and Raidu aren't quite firing off on all cylinders, but who needs that when you've got Jadeja, Dhoni and Sam Curran to come in afterwards. It'll be interesting to see if Barendorf ever gets a game with the current players, or if he ends up going back to Australia like a lot of the other Australians have been doing. What do you guys think about that?
Well, my take on Chennai is, like, in a way, Moeen Ali was doing really well for them and winning a few games for them, but having him injured meant that Jadeja probably bowled more and got more of a chance at a bat. So that was probably a good thing for Chennai in that Royal Challengers game. But I think they're just looking very strong at the moment. Like you said, the Corinne bases.
What do we think? Top four?
Yeah.
I think quite comfortably. I think RCB and Chennai are both looking really dangerous this season. But, saying that, I thought RCB were going to absolutely walk over Chennai in that game, the form they were in, and the exact opposite happened. RCB got Jadeja'd. All right,
Yeah.
So Delhi Capitals, what do you think of them?
Who wants
Again,
to
really like them. Where am I going?
Go on, yeah.
You're going.
Yeah, again, they're really strong. We've just finished watching the Royal Challengers Delhi Capitals game in which they have lost, but Shimron Hetmeyer almost pulled it out the bag.
Out of nowhere.
I know, out of nowhere, really. I wasn't expecting that from him. But he's got the muscles, really. So he's like all the West Indians in the tournament. He can smack the ball for six. But yeah, I think that just shows how deep, how good they've covered everything, really. I think their issue is really Rishabh Pant as captain. I think he feels the burden of that captaincy. He's very young to be captain. And yeah, I think it's not giving him that freedom to play the innings we usually see him play. Like today, his 50 was off almost 50 balls. Like he was almost going run a ball when we're used to him striking at 160, 170 strike rates.
I think also Delhi have sort of struggled, as we predicted, since bringing in Steve Smith, who's not done much, and dropping Chris Wokes, who was playing fantastically. So yeah, we're sort of seeing that's maybe upset the balance a little bit. I mean they're missing Ashwin, although Akshar Patel's come in and sort of filling that gap. I think they've looked a little bit ropey the last two games personally. I think they got off quite lightly against Sunrisers, with that chase down and then the super over. And I think actually had David Warner not put himself opening the batting and sent out Bairstow and Williamson, who were the ones who really played well in that innings, it could have been a different tale. And yeah, it was an absolute thriller to finish with RCB today. And for once, Royal Challengers bottle jobs decided, not to bottle it. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I've got to say, Delhi, I agree with your opinion on Steve Smith because it was my opinion at the start.
Well, I'm agreeing with you.
I think an overseas player like Sam Billings would do a lot better for Delhi at the moment. I think he fits in. He's explosive, and having another explosive overseas lower order batsman when you've got they've got Shimron Hetmeyer and Marcus Stoinis, it's not going to do you any harm. So, especially when Steve Smith's just taking up a place, really. So yeah, I think that sums up Delhi quite well. They're doing very well, but there is a little bit of room for improvement. Who's next? Is it Kolkata?
Well, we'll talk about Kolkata.
Yeah. Kolkata are doing. They're on a bit of an up, aren't they? Owen Morgan found some form in the last game. Their spinners are looking good, like Varun Chakravarti, especially. Chakravarti, don't know how to pronounce his name. He's doing really well. And I think what we're seeing with Kolkata is they're starting to find their way a bit. They've had there was that game where they were pretty much out of it, and then Andre Russell steps in with Pat Cummins, and like the players who they need to find form, those players who we said were kind of over the hill a bit, are starting to find form and starting to deliver. So we could see a bit of a resurgence from them.
Yeah, I think there's a few teams that have been up and down in this IPL. I think Kolkata are one, Punjab are the other, and I think Rajasthan are like that other one who sort of, they've not been dominant, but they've been winning games that maybe we thought they wouldn't win. So I did not expect Kolkata to beat Punjab yesterday, as of recording this, but we finally saw, as you said, Zach, Owen Morgan getting into that little bit of form and really playing, a captain's knock and a match-winning innings. Their game against Rajasthan, again, their key players, didn't really do much, and they struggled in that situation, which allowed Rajasthan to chase it down relatively comfortably with Sanju Samson and David Miller. What have you seen from Kolkata, James?
I've seen Sun on the Rhine not doing a lot with the bat, which is completely what we expected. I'm going to say he is over the hill. But with the ball against Punjab, he was absolutely class. I think, like you say, some of their players are just starting to hit a bit of form now. Andre Russell seemed all right in a couple of the games. It's nice to see Owen Morgan do well, even if it is against my own team, because I like him and I want him to do well. But overall, I think Kolkata, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're on a little bit of an upward slope now.
They could be a dark horse, though.
They could be.
They could be a dark horse.
Yeah. All right, so it's Mumbai next, and the first game after our last podcast, Punjab Kings beat Mumbai, which was nice to see. Punjab Kings win a game, and if I could just linger on that game for as long as possible, that'd be great. But yeah, Mumbai just, again, that middle order isn't striking at all.
They need Hardik Pandya, don't they, to play those innings that we're used to seeing from Mumbai. Like, he comes in and you don't really think he can hit the sixes, but he starts smacking them all over the place. And this year he's not. I think I've had one innings, which out of 5 isn't great. Like, he needs to step up. Karen Pollard as well. He's not been playing too many match-winning innings. And I also think one of the things they should have changed is, they shouldn't have changed really, is having Chris Lynn at the top. Quinton de Kock hasn't done anything. And Chris Lynn hits a 50 in his first game and they're like, see you later. Because I know Quinton de Kock can wicket keep, but so can Ishan Kishan. It doesn't really make much sense to keep going with someone who's underperforming.
I think it's a really important game for Mumbai to win. If they really want to look into this tournament, they need to win the next game against Rajasthan. It's sort of a must-win for Mumbai, and then because they've got a couple of tricky fixtures with Chennai, with about 2 or 3 days later, Chennai and then Mumbai, having to travel over to Delhi, and then Rajasthan again. So they've got a must-win, I think, really for them this week. Yeah, it's as you've said, their middle order are really struggling. Mr. Consistent, Rohit Sharma, has been Mr. Consistent, but having him at the top, getting 30, 40, 50 runs every single match, isn't going to win you the game when you've got your rest of your top order crumbling and your middle order not getting any runs either, and your bowlers getting smacked around for loads. So, yeah, they really need I think just to knuckle down a bit and really concentrate on this next game. And if they can beat Rajasthan, we'll talk about them in a minute, who seem to be struggling at the minute a lot, especially with losing some more players this week. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Well, speaking of must-win games, Punjab Kings, all of them are now must-win games. We've managed to successfully have was it 3 terrible batting collapses now out of 6 games. It's not great. We're not doing very well. So in the latest match against Kolkata Knight Riders, we batted first and we got 123 for the loss of 9 wickets. And just to really show how amazing our all-round batting performance was, the only person to get over a strike rate of 100 was Chris Jordan. He was the best batsman by a long way. Got 30 off 18.
Saying this, you need to bring in Chris Jordan. Do you think Punjab, it's time really for that mix for that for that change up? Nick Pooran finally broke his stride of consecutive ducks, but this time it was Gale nicking off on his first ball. Do you want to see some more changes? They've brought in Moses Enriquez, or however we decided he was called in our last episode. They've brought him in. Do you think it's time to start using that Daya Malan, best T20 batsman on paper?
Sorry, I'll just take this one. I don't want to see Moses in the team again. He got incredibly lucky with a wicket in the first over. It was a full toss, and he got caught. It was stupid. And he hasn't batted well at all. Nick Pooran hasn't fired, and we've got David Malan on the bench. It's getting a bit frustrating at this point. So I want to see Jai Richardson again, I think, on this sort of nicer pitch to bowl on. It might be good to see him again. So, yeah, that's what I do. But, will the Punjab selectors do it? Will it happen? I would not let Riley Meredith within a mile of this team at the moment.
So you'd like to see Dan Malan come in, Chris Jordan, Jai Richardson, and other as
Chris Gale,
your overseas slots.
What do you think, Zach?
Can you play Gale and Malan in the same side?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Gale opening, Malan at 3, Agarwal at 4 or something. I don't know. Or Malan at 4. Either one works.
I think what Punjab are missing is consistency. Like, for the supposedly the most explosive team in the tournament, they've hit those 2 scores. They've got 221 for 6 and 194 for 4, which is ridiculous. And then they've got 106, 120, 123 and 132. And there's that lack of consistency. And KL Rahul, the form he had last year, I don't think he knows the role he's supposed to play. Like, I think he thinks he needs to bat the whole way through. And if he's thinking he needs to bat the whole way through, then there's a problem, because he should be firing. He should be aiming to score those hundreds of 50, 60 balls. Whereas if David Malan's playing that role of holding the innings, then the players around them have more freedom. People like Chris Gale, Pooran, Agarwal, they need that freedom, don't they, to fire. And so Chris Jordan coming in, having to prove a point, just says, right, I can hit the ball 30 off 18. Why is Chris Gale not doing better than me? And he's the universe boss. Yeah, they need to rethink a few things, I think.
Asking some questions. Agree. Speaking of rethinking a few things, Rajasthan Royals.
Oof, yeah. Well, if you haven't already seen Zach's stat corner, check it out. But I think you're going to need another one because you were talking about a replacement for Liam Livingstone, and now Rajasthan have also lost. Well, we already knew they'd lost Ben Stokes, but now they've lost Andrew Ty as well. Um, who are who else
Jofra
did they
Archer as
lose?
well.
Archer.
Jofra Archer. So they're down to 4 overseas slots. They've got Rassi van der Dussen coming in potentially, but yeah, they're an absolute nightmare, Rajasthan.
I, I I think the question is now, and also we might talk about this a bit at the end, but like there's a question about the IPL continuing. It seems like at Rajasthan there is a problem with these players going back, and you know we are aware that the situation in India at the minute is very dire. I mean, the government have come out and said that actually the IPL, should continue. It's a very COVID-safe environment, so these players, should be able to rest easy and carry on playing. And actually, it's a great thing to have the IPL on because while there's a country in lockdown, it's giving people a bit of joy for 2 to 3 hours every single night. But it does appear to be affecting the tournament quite a lot. I mean, are Rajasthan even going to be able to fill those 4 overseas spots? Are they going to be even able to get players in who are willing to sort of take that risk? Especially these Australian players who've got very tight, quarantine restrictions when they get back home. They're worrying about being able to be let back into Australia, full stop. So it's definitely a real tough time for everyone out in India and these players, and yeah, we really are thinking of them and hoping that everything goes okay for them.
I guess the thing is, if you like in a normal circumstance, an overseas like Rassi van der Dusen, for example, he could just jump on a plane and go to India and play the next day. Whereas now he has to get to India, quarantine for 2 weeks or however long it is before he can actually play. And that's not even starting the training. Like he's not even getting into the school. So it's almost getting to the stage where this is like your last chance to get your overseas players in, and they might play your last 4 or 5 games, which could be needed. Like we've seen it all sorts of times throughout the IPL history where a team's needed to win their last 5 games and they pulled it out, and those sorts of players could make a difference. But with Rajasthan, they are lacking in quite a few areas. And in a weird way, it's their bowling which is stepping up for them. Chris Morris is proving his worth. Jadev Unadkat, who's struggled the last few seasons, is starting to bring in that experience. They've got this young guy in Sakaria. I'm rubbish with these names, aren't I?
He is bowling really well.
And they've got the Fizz, who is every game he's seeming to improve. It's just that spinner. That's the thing they need, because Rahul Tewatia isn't the class spinner that they need in that side.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think what we might see is Rajasthan requesting a loan of an overseas player from another side. In which case, who knows, we might be able to get rid of Riley Meredith, and then knowing Punjab's luck, if Glenn Maxwell's anything to go by, he'll then take 5 wickets a match, take the purple cap, and win Rajasthan the tournament. But there we go. I'm not salty at all. But yeah, I'm just echoing what you said there, Benj, before we go on to Sunrisers. Yeah, absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Delhi and the rest of the world. I know Delhi's really bad, but in India particularly, it's really bad there. So, if the IPL doesn't continue, then obviously we would rather there was never an IPL again and none of this COVID disaster happened. And that's what it comes down to.
You skipped out RCB, so.
Well, I just don't want to talk about them.
Zach's smug face.
Too good, aren't they? They're just, yeah.
Go on, Zach, kick it off.
It's just like today's performance was the sort of thing that they needed, because you've seen it in the past with Royal Challengers. Like we said, the Royal Challengers bottle jobs or Royal Chokers Bangalore, where the opposition needs 15 and over, and they get it with balls to spare. But today, Siraj, Jamieson, Harshal Patel showed their worth, showed their class, and it was a close one. Not gonna lie, Shimron Hetmyer was a bit scary, but yeah, they showed they've got it in them to defend those totals now, and that sort of performance, that pressure that Siraj had to save the innings against Shimron Hetmyer, who was on 200 strike rate, and Rishabh Pant, one of the best batters currently in India, to do that against them was really impressive, and I think that will just keep adding to this confidence that Royal Challengers have at the moment to keep going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we said we'd try and pick out one thing that the team's doing well and one thing they need to improve on. I can't really think of one thing that the team needs to improve on with RCB other than
Virat Kohli.
what on earth they're doing with Washington Sundar.
Yeah.
The guy's done decent things in the Test series against England. I will admit he was good with the bat there. However, he has yet to show me that he can bat in T20. And at the moment, they just don't seem to know where to bat him. We've seen him open. We've seen him at number 6 or 7. So they need to sort out that. They need to figure out what they want Washington Sundar to do. But other than that, I mean, they're so strong. Even if some of their players aren't firing, the others do.
I think with Washington Sundar, it doesn't really matter where he bats, because at the minute with the RCB batting lineup, you've got Virat Kohli and Devdutt Padikkal, who are your definite openers. And then as long as you've got Glenn Maxwell and AB de Villiers at 4 and 5, it doesn't matter where anyone else bats, because they're going to hit runs. Like, if one of them doesn't, the other one does. So it's fairly irrelevant where Washington Sundar, Daniel Sams, Padikkal, where all of them fit in, because they've got that top 5 who don't appear to be missing. I mean, we had another absolute AB de Villiers masterclass, and I hope you guys have got him in your fantasy team, because he's looking ridiculous. He's looking unmeasurable, and I think he will be getting calls from Cricket South Africa saying, please come out of retirement for the T20 World Cup, otherwise we've got no chance of winning this.
If Cricket South Africa is still a thing.
If they're still a thing, yeah, by then.
Sunrisers, the team we all said were going to be the strongest, and currently they sit bottom of the table, about to face Chennai, who we thought wouldn't make the top 4. So, yeah, it's...
We've been brilliant, haven't we? We've been top after these predictions. Honestly, I think Sunrise's biggest problem, and I would have said this at the start, I would have said this a year ago, is David Warner. Get him out. I think if Kane Williamson was the captain, and if they had Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow opening, then Sunrisers would be a slightly different team. I'm not 100% sure, because obviously it is their middle order that's still struggling. But yeah, I think I'm letting my prejudices cloud my judgment with David Warner. So I'll maybe I'll be quiet and let myself have a few deep breaths.
Don't you think with Sunrisers, if you look at the top of the order, because I know Royal Challengers, I compare them with Royal Challengers. Royal Challengers have Virat Kohli, top batsman, at 1, and they've got Maxwell at 3 and 4. So they're all spread out. And actually, Maxwell at 4 is at 4, and de Villiers is at 5. So their top batsmen are the core, and all the others are batting around them. Whereas Sunrisers are thinking 1, 2, 3, Warner, Bairstow, Williamson, and then everyone else to follow. Whereas if you put maybe someone like Virat Singh opening with David Warner, you had Bairstow at 3, Williamson at 5, or something like that, just spreading them out, then you'd probably see that consistency throughout the innings. Whereas as soon as you get the top 3 out, that's it. They've got nothing.
I mean, David Warner, he's very hit and miss. He's had scores of 3, 54, 36, 37, and then 6. So he's not batted badly at all this IPL. There's been 2 games that he's not scored in the 30s. So, we can't be calling for him to get chucked out of the franchise yet. And thinking about the point about should he have batted in the Super Over or not, as the captain, you have to back yourself to go and get those runs. I think it would have asked a lot more questions about him if he wasn't backing himself, and if he wasn't putting himself up there and saying, look, it's going to be me, then Johnny, then Kane. It's still a strong top three to do. And this has been Sunrise's way of playing the IPL all the way through. It's been have that real strong top order, and if they, don't score, oh dear, panic a little bit. I mean, they are struggling a bit, Sunrisers. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar has not bowled with the same vigour that we saw him bowling against England in the T20 series, which was very, very, very frustrating. And also now Nathan Aranjan's out injured. He's had surgery this week, so we're not going to see him for the remainder of the IPL either. I think it was a bit harsh to drop Minesh Pandey. I feel like
they need him.
They still need him in that team. That consistent way of getting runs that is not from your top three. So maybe not the smartest choice there. But yeah, it's a definite weird one. That something definitely needs to change at Sunrisers. They need a bit of a shake up and a rethink. Otherwise, I think that bottom spot is going to look very comfortable for them.
Yeah, I agree.
mean, they play Chennai tomorrow, so we'll see. We'll say this now, and then tomorrow, David Warner will come out, hit a century, and Chennai will get bowled out for 12, and then we're all the way back to the drawing board.
Yeah. So Natarajan he's been ruled out for the IPL now.
Yeah.
Just had knee surgery, hasn't he? So there were obviously problems there because he was their best, death bowler with all his Yorkers. But yeah, I agree. We could see Sunrisers at the bottom, or we could see them absolutely, shoot up. It'll be interesting to find out.
For sure.
Right, fantasy picks of the week. What we're saying, I'm going to say AB de Villiers. I'm going to steal him.
Yeah, AB de Villiers. I'm going AB de Villiers.
I think he just has to be the one. He's the main one. Just get him in your team. For not AB de Villiers, Jadeja. He's the other guy for CSK. He's been playing fantastically.
Points for catches, runs, wickets.
I mean, just as an all-rounder, like we've been saying for so long, Ben Stokes is the best all-rounder in cricket. I think we've just forgotten about Jadeja. And Jadeja has got that all three formats too. Like he can play in Test, he can play in one day, and he can play in T20. So yeah, long story short, put Jadeja in your team.
Absolutely. All right then, should we end it there, lads?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we should. I think it's worth also just reminding everyone who is in India, to adhere to the latest COVID restrictions and guidelines. Use your face coverings, keep your hands washed, and hopefully we'll be able to get through this awful pandemic. And on a lighter note, follow us on our socials, which is James
I can't remember when you say it like that. At Cricket Nerds Pod.
Nice.
Damn it, I was doing so well. You took my blow. All right then. See you later, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.